It's almost time. Rock. 8, 7, 6, 5.
Tried to hold us back, to hold us, tried to hold us back.
We will be here forever.
Hey, it's Shan here. This week I catch up with Cary Pogson from Omni Boards. Cary is a significant figure in Australian skateboarding. He has been manufacturing skateboards in Australia since 1986. The brand and the company has had various incarnations over the years, but they're still going. In fact, stronger than ever. Cary's manufacturing processes are more refined than ever, and we did this episode in the Omni warehouse down in Ulladulla, New South Wales, Australia. It was a really fun day, a big day. I'm joined by Jim Turvey this week as co-host, and Jim and I drove actually 6 hours each way from where we live down to Ulladulla, recorded the episode, and then drove 6 hours back. So it was like over 12 hours of driving, lots of conversation in the car, lots of shit talking. Getting to know Cary was so interesting because he's quite an undercover figure. He doesn't really seek the limelight or anything like that, but he's been so significant. I mean, he has sponsored some of the greatest skateboarders in Australia over the years and turned them professional and given opportunities where opportunities never really existed. So he sponsored Alex Smith, Kerry Fisher, Trent Bonham, Steve Tierney, Jake Brown, Dustin Dolan. You know, he's given them pro models. He made my friend Cameron Guzev professional. I think Cam was the first ever Omni Pro. And Cameron actually got a skateboarding fine ticket and got that to be the graphic on his first ever pro model, which I thought was so rad. It was such a middle finger to the establishment. And I'm like, as if you're like giving teenagers large fines for skateboarding back in the day when we had no money. Such bullshit when you think about it, really. Anyway, I don't know if you've ever really considered the process that goes into the manufacturing of a skateboard. And Cary breaks it right down, which is really interesting. And then it got me thinking about, do we actually consider the manufacturing of anything that we use and the actual human labor that goes into these things? And it's significant. Cary talked about the conundrum of competing with countries that have a third world economy and their ability to employ cheap labor and trying to compete with those. But ultimately, he's an Australian manufacturer that still supports the scene. He has sponsored legions of skateboarders over the years. So it's a great history lesson. It was great having Jim there because Jim's such a skate nerd. He is a skate historian, literally. He's an article writer. And we just get into the nitty gritty of it. So it's a long episode. It's a significant episode in my opinion. And I think you'll get a lot out of it. So sit back, relax, and get to know Cary Pogson. Cheers.
Child of the crayon, child of the light, styles of the neon belong to a culture destined to rock for eons. Time doesn't exist. Shut those cataracts, capture the virtualist. Now, let's get back to what makes things seem forever, whether it's unseen, unheard, or it's 16 again. Not a bother, fill this old man river, kill a floor that gives all.
Yeah, but what a space that we have here. I don't know. How many incarnations of warehouses have you had? Which one's this?
Probably 4, 5, 6.
So that's the
six, something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was only just posting some stuff off on Facebook the other night, and I posted a picture. Oh, this is the first Omni factory, and then I thought, oh no, there was one before that, and at another place, and then I posted that, and I went, oh no, there was one more actually, and at another place under a porch we had. So that was going back 74, 75.
Was the first one?
Yeah, I was making surfboards then. So
on the south coast?
No, this was in Sydney.
Which part of Sydney?
That was West Pennant Hills.
Right.
Yeah, so we'd moved from Pennant Hills to West Pennant Hills when my parents split up when I was like 10, 12. And then, got into surfing. So that was the first factory when I started. There were some rooms down there under the porch, and my brother was a rev head and motorbikes, and so he had all grease and bloody shit there, and my old little room was full of surfboard foam and stuff like that. So if you ever wanted to find me, that's where I was.
So you're making surfboards in like sort of Western Sydney area?
Yeah.
Interesting. What were the sales like?
Oh, non-existent. No, it was just something I was making for myself. A couple of mates wanted a board, and I sold a few here or there to sort of friends. But yeah, it wasn't anything big. It was just something that I liked, and yeah, I guess that's where I like the idea of making stuff, and then testing them out, and yeah, so board sports. That's what I was into, sort of surfing, and then obviously. Not being by the coast, I could only surf on the weekends or just Sunday. If Mum would take us to the beach, there was four mates, and we'd go down for a surf on most Sundays, and Mum would be the one dragging us down there. And so the rest of the week we'd be back in Pennant Hills. We got a skateboard, so we were sort of emulating surfing during the week, on skateboard. So my first skateboard was the 24-inch blue Surfer Sam. And that was a piece of shit, really.
How old were you?
Oh, I'd say 14. It's a bit sort of vague, 14, 15. It was around 74, I would imagine, yeah.
How old were you when you first made a surfboard?
About 14, 15. So I'm pretty sure it was the end of 74. Yeah, because I got a job up the road pumping petrol, so I was a Bowser boy. And so that was where I was getting my money from. And I know I got the job before I was 14. That was younger than you're allowed to. So the guy had to ask Mum, well, can he get a job here? He's too young to be legally working. And so she went, yeah. So it was probably not long after that I had some money and yeah, I think I'd bought 2 surfboards before then. And then so my third surfboard was one that I rode. That I made.
So you had, and then something in you said, hey, I reckon I could do that. I reckon I could make one of those.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was the idea that you could make what you wanted. Like you look around for a board and it's, I don't like that one, I don't like this. It's like, if I make one, I can make what I want. So that was always good, and that's what I liked exploring, making surfboards, was making something that, you thought you'd work. You'd do a certain tail or thickness or whatever, angles and concaves or whatever, and fin placements, and you'd be playing around with that to sort of get an idea of what works, and hopefully the next one you make is a bit better. They were usually always, it was all right, but this was wrong with it, and so there was always something to make next time to fix that, make it better. So
was there like a background of manufacturing or making things in your family? Like, were you the first person, or like were you influenced by somebody else in your family? Was your dad manufacturing things?
My dad was I don't know if he was a carpenter, but he built a couple of our houses when we were young. I know that. He built 3 houses before I was 8 or something. But he was a church pipe organ builder.
Right.
So basically he had a place at home, so we had a big 4-car garage where he made church pipe organs from. So there was always machinery and hammers and chisels and wood everywhere, so I'd always be in there and probably swing a hammer before I could do anything else, and so yeah, making stuff for myself out of wood and things. So I guess that that rubbed off a bit.
And he was passing on his skills to you?
Oh, a little bit. He was still pretty busy with work, so I'd just be the kid in there, and my brother was in there too. He nearly chopped his whole little finger off one day with a chisel. It was just hanging on by a thread. So, yeah, you got to watch it when you got little kids walking around with machinery and sharp implements.
Wow. I mean, have you been pretty lucky in the injury department? Yeah,
I think so.
Touch wood?
Nothing bad.
He's got all his fingers. I can see them.
That was the first thing I looked at. I looked at that too. I was like...
Yeah, I know a few old guys that are missing something from an accident back in the day, but no, I'm careful.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were saying like up until the age of about 14, you're in the Pennant Hills area, correct?
Yep.
And then you said your parents split around what age?
Oh, 12? That was before then. So that was when we moved in with Mum. So that was living with Mum when I was making the boards there. And
where were you before that?
Oh, we were Pennant Hills.
Oh, it was still Pennant Hills. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, our ancestors that came out on the convict boat actually lived at Cherrybrook. They bought a place there. He got a conditional pardon that he wasn't allowed to go back to England, but he actually bought some land there and started an orchard at Cherrybrook. And so from West Pennant Hills, we moved to Cherrybrook, and we moved in the same road that one of the old houses was originally in. So basically the Pogsons nearly owned the whole of Cherrybrook back in the day. Yeah, they're all still buried in this little church down at Cherrybrook there, and a little sandstone church they built and everything. So, yeah, we've got a bit of a history of Pogsons in the Cherrybrook area.
The Cherrybrook area.
So
That's Borkham Hills, Cherrybrook, St Ives. Is that all the same
they're
zone?
a bit far away from that. But
a bit further away.
Pennant Hills, West Pennant Hills, Cherrybrook, Durrell's probably one of the closer.
Wow.
Yeah, so out there.
No way.
Right on the edge of the bush. So, yeah, I spent most of my childhood in the bush, running around like an idiot.
Do you reflect on those times with fond memories?
Oh, yeah, it was good,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a waterfall down there. We used to go down there and swim and camp all the time. At most school holidays, we'd just set up a camp, a couple of tents down there and just be backwards and forwards from the house, but living in the tent down there, just all us kids, no adults.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Parents didn't know where you were. You think there's something good about
It was
that?
just down in the bush, that's fine. We were down there.
Yeah.
It's all good. Walking around with machetes and bloody axes and chopping shit down.
Just like
Classic childhood stuff.
like appeasing.
Had a slug gun,
Do you think boredom is where creativity is born?
Could be. But I think, I don't think I was ever bored, because I was always doing something. So it wasn't like, I'm bored, I want to do something. It was like, I always had shit to do. It was always, you'd find me in that little shed there first in West Pennant Hills.
Mm.
And, but yeah, I guess getting back to we're all wanting to hear more about skateboarding and that. So
I want to hear about you too.
As much as I was surfing, it was only weekends because we couldn't get down there. So most afternoons we were riding skateboards and going up the shops on Friday and Saturday night and spending the whole time up there, going down Coles car park and cruising the streets, just on our skateboards. And that was another thing. I never really saw any other skaters. It was just us people, us mates, just a small handful of us, just skating all the time. And to be honest, I'd never really read the mags or got into what was going on overseas and seeing the pool stuff. So, like in the early 80s when guys like Biff and all that and they were all riding the bowls, I didn't know any about that. I'd never seen that shit. We were just still doing the 70s stuff, riding skateboards down the road and doing surfy turns.
In and out of cones?
Oh, not even that. Just down the road and doing handstands and the catamaran with the two people, And
I was going to ask, where were you getting your information from? You weren't looking at
really.
surf mags either.
Oh, I probably was reading tracks and that. When I first saw how to build a surfboard, it was in Surfing World, I think, or one of those. It was a third page little article, a little vertical spread of 10 steps how to build a surfboard, and that was what I sort of went, okay, yeah, there it is there. I'll get the materials and buy it. So I went to St Ives. Peter Daniels from St Ives was selling surfboards at the time, surfboard materials. And yeah, used to go and buy a few blanks at a time and some resin off him at St Ives and come back. I'd usually make them in batches of 3, 4, 5 boards at a time.
Yeah, you didn't keep that first surfboard, did you?
No, well, my mate called it the abortion board because it didn't come out that great. I thought it was all right, but it had a deep concave in it, and it was a 6/8 single fin. So yeah, it got nicknamed the abortion, but whatever. You live with that. So anyway, so we were basically skateboarding at nights and in the afternoons and making surfboards and mucking around.
What'd your dad think? What'd your dad think of you making surfboards and skateboards?
Well, he wasn't really around, I guess, after that. So,
okay.
Yeah, don't know.
Okay, what about your mum? Was she supportive of it? Yeah,
she was pretty good. She was tolerant. Our house was the drop-in house, everyone would come around and, be down the shed with me and, Mrs. P, carry around, down the back, So, yeah, that was basically it. I never went to many people's houses. It was always my place and people would come around to my place.
Mm.
So, yeah.
What year did you make your first skateboard?
I probably would have been around those early days after I got the... 75. Yeah, because I got that Surfer Sam, probably 75, 76. It was just a piece of plywood, and I just sliced up the tail and put a little wedge in it just to give a bit of kicktail, and that was about all.
Yeah.
And that lasted me for quite a while.
Roller skate wheels, trucks and wheels?
No, they were. I think. Remember, we got some Cadillacs. Well, the place that I was buying my skateboard stuff from was Castle Hill Ski Shop. Now, that ski shop was owned by the Rowstons, which they turned out to be that they were doing Adlon trading. So that was how they sort of got into skateboarding was, they had a ski shop at Castle Hill and they had a little glass counter with some skateboard gear there. So I remember buying probably some Gullwing trucks, I remember. And, we had the chalky wheels there for a bit, I remember, and they were the old ones with the balls in them, too, the cone ones. And then I do remember the day getting a set of Cadillacs, those like amber colour wheels, and then first riding that, and it was like, it was so smooth and grippy, and that was just like next level, that getting those wheels. But they were still the cone wheels, so that would have, probably 76, 77 maybe.
Wow.
Well, urethane hits late 74.
Yeah,
in Australia is mainstream by 75 is
so
urethane's really hitting the thing, I think, from memory.
Yeah. But then, I think, I don't know when the Aussies came in. I remember getting a pair of Aussies or something too, but I didn't even know Burwood Skate Shop existed, I didn't know that. And, I just went down and got a few things from the Adlon trading, which they turned out to be Adlon trading later, but that was just the ski shop in Castle Hill. Yeah, right. So, and I'd never seen other skate. We didn't know there was even skating going on, and so we were just doing our own thing. And then we actually, when we moved to Cherrybrook, was probably pretty awesome because we were one of the first houses there, and it was just this massive, it spread for miles and miles, square miles of just these hot mixed tar roads, just with hills and lines everywhere, not a house on it, and that was amazing. So we had that was pretty awesome, riding hot mix smooth tar roads and not a car in sight and not a house there.
Golden times.
Yeah.
What kind of student were you at high school?
Top of the class woodwork and metalwork.
It just came to you naturally?
Well, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But the rest of it not so great. I wasn't really interested.
So when you were making those early skateboards with your friends, copying what Surface Hams were and stuff like that, was there something in the back of your mind saying like, this is how I'm going to make my living?
No, not at all. No.
What were you thinking then in terms of your next steps out of school? Well,
probably then, out of school, I didn't even really know because once school left, I didn't really know where to get a job. And a mate of mine, because I'd been making surfboards, his dad owned a fiberglass factory. So I spent the first year out of school, which was 77, at a fiberglass factory. So, I mean, that was good. That's held me in good stead for what I'm doing now with making moulds and fiberglass in stuff. And so I did a year of that. And then after that year, excuse me, my girlfriend's dad said, do you want a carpentry apprenticeship? And I didn't even know he was in the building industry. She was telling everyone at school he was a copper, like a detective. And he looked like, he was like 6'4" and
she was telling
looking
people
dude.
That?
I think she was just keeping the guys at bay, you don't want to.
Right. So you scored yourself a hottie then, didn't you?
Yeah, so I'd go around there to see her and I'd be doing bloody work on his house because he was doing some extensions and stuff, and sort of for a couple of weeks there, I was on a jackhammer every afternoon. Like go around and see him. It'd be like I have to do an hour worth of jackhammering before I can. So anyway, so he offered me a job as his mate with Kellen Rigby as a carpentry apprenticeship. So I got that. And
how'd you like it?
So great. Yeah, loved it. Yeah. So I did really well in that. I was so Kellen Rigby was an old company from back in the 20s. I think it had been started. So it's been going on for quite a while. And apparently I was there, the youngest leading hand. So I got a leading hand at the end of the second year apprenticeship. So that was the youngest anyone in their company had ever sort of got that. So I think I was doing all right building-wise and carpentry, yeah.
Interesting.
And it was good work with the Kellen Rigby. It was light industrial, so it was sort of bit of heavy stuff, but it was always good, interesting work.
Stayed in it for a while, or?
I just did my apprenticeship, and then my girlfriend's boss, I wasn't with her by then, I think, by the end of my apprenticeship, but I was still best mates with his son then. We were surfing a lot, and we're still good mates now. But he had another building company that he was CEO of, which was Fabquip Constructions, and they specialised in slip form and jump form high-rise equipment. And I think he kind of poached me because at the end of my apprenticeship, me and his son, we went up to the Gold Coast, and he was doing a bit of a side hustle there with high-rise buildings there, and we did a 3-month sort of crash course on being a carpenter on the slip forms to know how to put them together and do the operating side of, all carpentry on the slip forms. And then at the end of that 3 months, he said, "Oh, do you want a job being a technician with me?" So I said, "Yeah, no worries." And so, from then I went straight with Fabquip and so I was a field technician, Yeah, so it was basically a hire company where they'd hire out the slip form and jump form equipment, and someone would go with the job to show the builders how to put it together and then also how to operate it. So that was my job, operating and lifting the jump form and slip form systems.
Interesting, dude.
So, then it was all high-rise stuff. So I was working between Melbourne, Brisbane and Sydney doing high-rise stuff, and did some work out the bush, like silo work and things like that. Anything that was a continual vertical concrete sort of structure we do. And
So what got you down to the South Coast originally?
Well, surfing, because the moment we got our cars, it was like basically most weekends we'd piss off down here and surf and spend the weekend yahooing down here every weekend. Yeah, for a time there, like through the early 80s, we were here nearly every second weekend. I know I was probably here out of all my mates, but generally there'd be 3-4 car weekends where everyone would go down, 2-3 people in the car, and we'd all be surfing and what have you. So
camping, surfing?
Well, just sleep in the back of the car as you could back then, and just surf, camping, putting a fire up somewhere or whatever, and just spending weekends here surfing.
And just had an epiphany one day and went, "I'm staying."
Yeah, I really liked it.
Well, let me guess.
Well,
did you meet a girl?
No.
Okay.
I just liked it down here, and I moved down here. That was getting into snowboarding then, sort of the early 80s. So, the early 80s, like so I'm into board sports. So I'm wanting to ride boards, surfboards, skateboards, and then I saw these winter sticks. I thought, man, surfing the snow, how good is that? And so I made a couple of winter stick type boards in the 84 and then 85, and they didn't.
So just to clarify for those that aren't aware, like how would describe a winter stick?
Essentially a snowboard, but not like that. Probably a cross between a bit of a surfboard and a snowboard at the time.
With bindings?
They were just
traditional
straps.
Ski binding?
No, they were just like straps. You were virtually standing just with a bit of strap, like almost water ski type strappy things maybe. They didn't have metal edges or anything, so they were really only for powder, They were designed for overseas, so they were really only powder boards, and they didn't work here because we had hardpack, you couldn't. Only on very rare occasions could you ride them.
Are you just wearing normal shoes?
Yeah.
I think you'd probably back then the Sorels, like Ski-mobile Sorels, those higher sort of ones. The lifties used to always wear them, so things like that, and you maybe put a ski boot inside them. But I never rode a winter stick. I never sort of got into that. I was trying to make this board, and then I gave one to a mate, Gibbo. The snowboarders will know who he is. And he was the guy that I used to surf with all the time, and one of my best friends I've known since kindergarten. So we went to school together and everything. And then so he goes, 85, I sent him a board down because he was working on ski tube. And he went, it's no good, doesn't work. But I saw this guy riding a snowboard at Thredbo. And that was Jeff Sawyer. And he had one of the early Burton boards that had like better bindings and edges and stuff in them. So he was the only guy allowed to snowboard at Thredbo. And I go, oh man, I've got to meet this guy. So I went down there and missed him that weekend. He'd gone up to Sydney, and then anyway, we ended up catching up at the end of the 85 season over at Gibbo's place, and he brought all these boards around. I brought a couple of mine that I played. The moment I saw his, I'm not going to show him mine.
So you'd already made a few snowboards?
Yeah, just
before that?
Yeah, they were like winter stick copies, basically, yeah.
But you hadn't seen an actual snowboard?
Yeah,
You're just making your own kind of version that you'd created in your head.
Well, I'd seen the winter sticks, that's all, but I hadn't seen that.
I'm not familiar with them. Like, there's no edge. Like, is the edge similar to a surfboard?
I know what they look like, yeah.
Or is it got a sharp?
It's got a metal edge, yeah.
The winter sticks had a sharp edge.
No, they were like fiberglass bait with a PTX bottom, but they didn't have metal on the edges.
But it was quite a rigid edge.
Yeah, it was sort of sharp, but it wasn't metal.
Okay.
Metal edges. That was the big thing that changed, revolutionised. You know, guys like Burton and Sims and Chuck Barfoot, they were making boards which were pretty good. But I didn't see them in the mags. You know, I think Action Now was the only one that had a lot of that sort of crossover stuff, and I didn't really sort of see that. But the moment I saw the Burton board, it was the Performer, the 85 version. Jeff was actually the distributor for Burton in Australia. So he only had a couple. He had like 3 on him or 4. So that was very early days. No one was allowed to ride them. So, he came over to Gibbo with all these boards. We had a big meeting. It's like, dude, this – I mean, if you know Jeff, he can talk like – yeah, like can't stop him. Okay. I don't know. He could talk underwater or whatever. You know. But
guilty.
So I was just going, oh, man, these are amazing. And he's going, yeah, I'm going overseas next year. I've got this big tour book. We're going to Kashmir first to do a film. Some mates of his were filming a film for the Indian Tourist Bureau. So he was going over there to be the snowboarder. Oh, wow. And then I'm going to the US after that. We're going to spend a month in Kashmir, then a month in Vermont, and I'm going to race in the US Open. And then a month in Colorado, and I'm going to race in the world titles. So it was a 3-month trip.
Way.
So this was like end of October. I'd met him, and he was going in January. I said, mate, count me. I'm going. So I said, yeah, I'd love to go. And at the same time, you know, he's sitting there. He's got his briefcase, and he pulls out all these papers, and he wants to form the New South Wales Snowboarding Association. So, like, I've met this guy for an hour, and I'm signing documents with him.
As what?
I was
member,
the
president.
Well, you had to get a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. So Gibbo was the secretary, he was the president, and I was the treasurer of the New South Wales Snowboarding Association. He'd already talked to the New South Wales Ski Association, and we were affiliated under that. But we just had to get the 3 people to form an association. So. So I'd met him like within an hour. I'm signing documents and I'm going on a world trip with him, you know. So that was pretty awesome. So I quit my job, you know, high rise.
Yeah.
And then, I'm off on snowboarding.
So
that was the beginning of 86 then.
Beginning of 86. And I just want to go back a bit. Like you said, like you were interested in board sports and the snow. And then you're like, you've seen the winter sticks. So then you just were like, I'm going to make one. Like, was this always a mentality? Anytime that there was something you wanted to ride, you were just going to make your own? Like, you weren't a fan of ever buying it off anyone else?
Well, I saw some in the shop, some winter sticks in the shop in Hornsby.
Yeah.
And I think they were a little bit overpriced for me.
So was it an economical thing?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I always thought, you know, you could make something but just tweak it up a bit, you know.
Just like, I'm not paying for that. I'll just make it myself sort of mentality.
Yeah.
Was it a bit of figuring out how things work as well?
Trying to, yeah, because, you know, when you're making a surfboard, you as you're shaping it, you're imagining the water going through it and, you know, how it all works. And you know, it's a form function thing, you know, and skateboards have evolved like that too, that every little tweak and curve on the board is there for a function and they come together as a form, you know. Surfboards are like that, like a foil and a fin, they all do something. So, it's all just getting in your head when you're making something, how it's going to work and where your feet are going to be and the pressure points of stuff and things like that, yeah.
So let's fast forward to now. How would you compare the manufacturing of a skateboard to that of a snowboard? Is the process much easier and less refined?
To make a skateboard?
Yeah, you think it's easier or harder?
Oh, it's heaps easier than a snowboard.
Easier than a surfboard?
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to press some wood together. Got to get 7 bits of wood and put some glue on them and then stick them in a press.
Because it seems like, I've been looking at some of your boards, Steve Tierney's been showing me some of the later incarnations of Omni, and my memories of them back in the day, that I'll be straight, like some were great, and my friend Cameron Guzev used to ride for him and I'd see him all the time, and then some would be like, it's not that great, the wood feels like it's not as poppy as the American wood, is what we'd always say.
Yeah.
Have you heard that before?
Oh, yeah.
But now, from what you're producing, it's definitely on par.
Well,
so what my question is, like, has it taken that long for you to refine those processes to get it to the standard it's at?
yeah, well, there's always refinement, yeah. Probably the biggest thing that changed back in the day was when I first started, I was using epoxy resin, and it wasn't until I got the glue, I found the glue, I went to the States in mid-late 90s and we went to Taylor, the factory over there.
Yeah.
And I saw the National Casein, the brand, and that was the stiff glue that Rocco were using. So that was when I found that glue, that I think that was a big jump.
Interesting.
Was that Taylor Dakima? Is that the company?
Yeah. Yep. So we went in there. They were making snowboard cores at the time too, and saw a whole lot of stuff there. So yeah, we went to a few factories in that time, but seeing that, and then the moment I got back, I contacted National Casein, and the other company that was just started out, I think they might have been doing stuff, was Franklin, which they're the only ones now. Franklin are National Casein. When I started pressing boards about 3 or 4 years ago, I called them up and they just closed up and gone out of business. 99 years in business and they just stopped.
No way.
So then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to have to go with Franklin, and that's what I'm using now, and that's what everyone uses, the multi-bond skate. But yeah, so I think that was the big turning
difference.
point. Yeah, the glue. It's really important. Yeah, so that gives it a crisper, sharpier pop, whereas the epoxy, it lasted longer, but it didn't. It lost, it probably got, like you said, a bit soggy, but even though it still held up, it didn't have that crisp pop because that's what Rocco called it, it's just gone out of your head.
Pop?
The
stiff glue.
The stiff glue,
yeah.
So we called it the stiff glue. So that's what gave the boards that stiff pop. So yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me, was finding that glue and using that. Yeah. There was other glues around, and I tried a lot of Australian made. Basically, it's a crosslink PVA, and they just we pressed a whole lot of boards with all this different stuff, and nowhere near as good as this stuff. It's levels above any other normal PVA. So unfortunately, there's PVA manufacturers here in Australia, but they don't come anywhere near close to this glue here.
Interesting. Did you know that, Jim?
No, I mean,
glue was a thing?
I knew it was a thing in manufacturing skateboards, but
not the thing.
I wouldn't have thought it was the thing. I probably hadn't thought about it that in depth. Yeah,
it's only two things: the wood and the glue. You got to use the right wood, which I always have. I've been using. It's been rock maple from the Great Lakes area, and the glue. Yeah.
Did you ever experiment, like in the early days when you were first manufacturing skateboards and manufacturing like a lot of them as well when you really got going? Did you ever experiment with different types of wood that weren't necessarily being used by the rest of the industry?
Ooh,
not really. I did when I first started out. I didn't even know. I really wasn't up with all the US with what was skateboards were being made out of, and I used some other wood that I got for my snowboards, and I was pressing them, but I think that was birch or something, and it wasn't any good. I didn't make that many. It was just like, oh, this is not happening. It wasn't really until I met Steve Sargent, Ted, that, things got on track there. So, I'd been making snowboards down in the shed here in Ulladulla after the 86 ski season. Mm-hmm. That's when I moved down here in the shed. And then, a mate of mine, a mutual friend, knew Steve, and he goes, oh, no, mate, the skateboards, you go and talk to him and see see about that. So I think I'd closed the factory up because I just wasn't making any money. I got a bit of money from a back injury from that year, so I was able to put on the snowboard event at the time in Guthiga in '86. That was the first snowboard race ever held. And then after that, at the end of the season, I moved down here in Ulladulla and I'm going to make snowboards. And so ploughed all this money from my back injury into making snowboards, and it lasted about 9 months and had no more money left. And it was just...
And were they selling?
Well, I'd given a lot away to, had team riders, and I sold some, but wasn't enough. It wasn't self-sustaining.
Trying to build the brand.
So,
yeah.
And back in that day, snowboarding was changing every day. Every time you turn around and look, there was new construction, new shapes, and it was just out of control. You just could not keep up with what was going on there. And so, I just had to move back to Mum's place in Sydney and go back onto the high-rise construction. And it was probably easier for me then to start making skateboards because I thought, all right, well, they're cheap. I can't, because I was...
So that's why.
I was making skateboards in this other factory, but it was the factory had skateboards. I was making snowboards. I also had surfboards there. I was set up making surfboards. But snowboards I really wanted to sort of do, but it just got out of hand with the pricing and things changing every day. I just couldn't keep up with it. And skateboards, I thought, I can just settle on that and just, that's cheap. Let's just get this sorted. And then, I'd met Ted, Steve Sargent, and then he was the one that said, this is how you do it. Got to get the US maple. And I think he was talking about using epoxy. But I was always using epoxy in the snowboards anyway. So I had that sort of glue sitting around. He showed me all how to make the concave and what to do at the time, and then he knew all the skaters. He became a team manager. So honestly, if it wasn't for Ted, that wouldn't have happened. I didn't know anyone in the industry. I didn't know anything really about it because I was just...
So what year was that you went into a bit of production of skateboards? What year?
Well, that was early 86.
That was still in 86?
Oh, sorry, 87. End of 86, 87.
So 86 was the snowboard endeavour?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the name Omni, you already had the name Omni to go with the snowboards before?
Well, that was Omni Surfboards. I think I registered the name in 1978 as Omni Surfboards Australia was my first business name, and that was in 1978.
And that was from Omni, from the science fiction magazine? Is that where you got the name from? Is that correct?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was a pretty heavy smoking session. We were some mates at tech, carpentry, doing our tech course, and we were all sitting around at my place. We had a big, massive homework assignment to do, and of course, one of my mates went off and bought a bloody Buddha stick. We're all sitting around the table, smoking, doing our homework. And then, the topic of discussion got to, what are you going to call your surfboards? And people were throwing names up here and there. And one of my mates looked down at there was a pile of magazines in the corner there, and the Omni, that Omni science fiction magazine was on the top of it. And he goes, what about Omni? I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. But, it's evolved from there because I like Omni, that it means all things. So,
like omnipresent?
Yeah, but if something's omni, it's usually multiple. So the idea of Omni Boards is all sorts of boards, so all boards. That's in a way what... Was
it in the back of your mind that, hey, I'm going to be a manufacturer of all boards at the time? Not just skateboards. I might go back to surfboards, or I might keep doing some snowboards here and there.
At the time, I'm not sure. I mean, I was really surfboards.
Just owned?
Skateboarding was something that I had quite possibly. If you ask anyone, it was probably one of the better Buddha sticks we've ever had.
But it's funny that Omni connection is there.
I don't really want to promote that sort of shit. No, you're not.
But me either. But
it was the mid-70s, and we were surfers, and anyway.
The era. It was pretty synonymous with that culture and era, though, right?
Yeah.
But Omni, it's funny that you got the name from a science fiction magazine, because Tim Dorr, who was also one of the other, he was doing Aussie and everything like that. He's a huge UFO buff as well. And then the guy that started Reflex skateboards in Australia as well, that guy, he also started a company called UFO Skateboards. So there seems to be this crazy science fiction link between all of like these early manufacturers, aside from, I mean, Darren Burford up in Queensland, I don't know if he might be into UFOs too. I've never met him personally. I don't think so, but I was always spun out by that. And I was like, wait, Omni?
Yeah, don't know.
Tim Dawes into UFOs? Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyways,
maybe
getting
they were
sidetracked. I apologize.
Yeah, no.
infiltrating the cultures, the aliens. I love it. Well, I mean, it does take a level of progressive thinking, I think, to break down the barriers and experiment and try new things. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Were you considered crazy for doing this by maybe the mainstream? Like, what sort of job is that? Were people criticising you for it?
No, I have had a lot of people talk to me about just what I'm doing, like self-employed and all that, and what I'm doing. One guy in particular sort of said, I don't have the balls to do that. That was when I opened a shop down in Mount Beauty, a snowboard shop in the early 2000s. And when I think I was on the chairlift talking to him, and I just packed up and went to Mount Beauty and opened a shop and I want to get back into snowboarding. And he was just blown away because I couldn't do that. It was all the unknown, I think people like to stay in their safe zone. And, I don't know.
Well, how come you weren't scared?
Oh, I really don't know. Or maybe I'm an idiot. It's just like I just want to do what I want to do. It might go back to like when I was in primary school, early high school. I was in a play called Do Your Own Thing. And maybe that resonated with me, that it's like, do your own thing, everyone, whatever it is, just do it.
What about when times are tough financially?
No, you just got to hack it out, I suppose. I really don't know.
You didn't get stressed, worried?
Yeah. You just get through it, I suppose.
But for you, was it always you had the fallback of a trade as well, knowing that you could maybe get a little bit of carpentry work here and there?
Oh, possibly, but I don't want to go back on the tools.
No.
I know enough carpenters and people around here that, I'm probably a bit old now, dude. Don't think people would want to put me on, but...
Because like today I rang you and I said, I watch it. I made a casual statement of like, I watch a schedule and you laughed. You went, schedule? I just do stuff. Yeah. Do you feel like when you're in this space, and for those that are listening, we're sitting in Cary's awesome warehouse, surrounded by his presses and wood veneers and colour dyes and what else?
It's like a skateboarder's dream, really. Yes. I can see a stack of like Omni Boards that are already printed. I can see like his presses and his concaves behind him. It's pretty amazing. Yeah,
screens specific for skateboarding, curved screens, it's been quite, for Jim and I know we're just kind of like overwhelmed with what goes into it.
He's been pouring his own wheels about 2 meters behind you.
Yeah, making wheels. I mean, does it, when you're in this space by yourself doing it, does it feel like work? I think is the question I want to get to.
Oh, yes and no. There's probably two sides of what I do, and, obviously you get orders in and you have to... I'm a modern-day slave, if you want to put it that way. I owe money. So,
don't we all?
Well, that's just it. I'm a modern-day slave. I've got to keep working to pay the bills. So, when you get orders in, you've got to do shit. You've got a pile of 50 boards that you have to sand. Well, that can be a bit mind-numbing, and doing those sort of processes can be a bit mind-numbing. But when people talk to me about, I want to do a new shape, or I want to play around with this or that, I'd sand some boards for half an hour and go, right, I'm over that. I want to go over here and start marking out a board and doing a new shape, and that I really like. Doing new products and new shapes and playing around with things like that. That's what I really like developing. So if I did have the factory running good, that you'd have people doing the menial day-to-day stuff, that's what I'd be doing, is you're at the spearhead looking at directions and playing around with things. And, I like playing around with new materials and seeing how things go and testing and, just all that sort of product development sort of stuff I like. So that's what I really like about it. But, you've got the day-to-day grind. You have to sooner or later put that stuff down and get back to that pile and spend the next 2 hours sanding or whatever it takes. So, there's good and bad days.
It's good and bad. Interesting. When after, Sarge started giving you the insights into what really needs to happen for a good skateboard, Canadian rock maple and all that stuff, when did production start to really kick off and brands started to come to you to be their board manufacturer?
Well, that was 87 when we started with Sarge, and we were doing a lot of stuff. It was Omni. I was making Omni Boards. I was starting to get some shop sales, and so I was still working during the day, and then coming home at nights and in the weekends, pressing boards and cutting boards out, and that's actually when I met Kerry Fisher. He lived around the corner.
Amazing.
And he obviously sniffed out the rock maple or something, and him and his mates were coming over, and so they'd be sitting out the front waiting for me to come home from work, because I had some kicker ramps and some rails and whatever there that they'd be all pulling out, and they'd be skating on the street and doing that while I was in making boards or whatever. So
in
that was in Cherrybrook.
Cherrybrook,
yeah. Yeah, so he was like a little grom. I really don't know, maybe 13, 14, something like that, 15, I think. So, yeah, him and his mates were sitting there. I remember driving in, and they're all on the curb waiting for me to come home and open the roller door up and pull out the jump ramps.
So shops were stocking the Omni brand of...
Yeah. So that was going pretty good. And I really wanted to get out of the building industry, and there was a point where near the end of the 80s that I thought, yep, this is going good. I'm getting enough sales now to sort of carry on, and that's when I said, I had a girlfriend at the time who's the mother of my kids now. I said, I'm moving down to Ulladulla, I want to go down there. That was 1990, and I said, I'm going down. Basically, you're coming. So she's going, yeah, we're coming down. So we got a place, and so things were going all right. I was selling boards, and then obviously we all know what happened, sort of 91 or whatever. So she was pregnant with my first son, and then next thing, the phone's not really ringing. I better stop pressing. The pile of boards was starting to pile up, and I'm going, what's going on here? And, it just stopped, like almost within a week. I just thought, geez, what's going on? And it just, dead stopped. So, that was when the big shit fight hit, that the industry went to crashed. Whatever.
Yeah.
And, there were some pretty hard times. I had to go on the dole, sell my car. I think I got a little bit of slip form work here and there for some other people that were doing some stuff. I went to New Guinea, and I went down to Jindabyne and did a job there. And then, at Papua New Guinea, we did some work up there in the gold mine, the Okchedi gold mine. But, it was pretty slim pickings there. So basically I was on the dole for a couple of years. And then everything started to change, the double kicks were coming in and things were moving. They changed the wheelbase pattern. And so I was still trying to keep up with things. I think I was probably still making, making boards, but it was nothing like what was happening then. And then, so that was a bit of a new things were happening, and I suppose, I was making some boards, and then I got one neighbour complained about the noise, and the council came round and said, you can't be doing this here. And
the noise of manufacturing.
Yeah, because I was just working from we were just in a rental place down in Brule Lake, just in, a little cottage sort of thing with a little garage out the front, and I was just pulling out my machine there and cutting out, and one of the neighbours complained, and I'd actually was lucky that I'd bought a little block of land with that back injury money I had, and I sold it, and that gave me a bit of cash to then move into a factory. I could rent a small unit. I bought a little bit more machinery, bought some more wood. And that really kicked off. I had a mate that was coming around. He actually started working for me, and, we were starting to really get busy. That was probably 92, 93. And that's when I put on Cam. And
so Cam Guzev was the first ever Omni team rider?
Oh, no, So we had the 80s guys like, Ted and Mitch Newell.
Newell,
and Matt Hoffman. Danny Van was there for a while.
Wow.
Biff was sort of never on the team, but he was always riding, so he was always getting flow.
Yep.
Who else was there? I think it was mostly those guys, and then
Was Macca getting boards in the late 80s before he went to the US or anything? Not until he got back from the US?
I don't think I met Macca then. It wasn't till quite then. So I hooked up with like Gary Valentine. He was like the Snake Pit. So I was starting to sell boards in the Snake Pit. Jason Ellis. Oh well, the big breakthrough was probably when we got Jason Ellis and Jake Brown in the same day.
Wow.
So that was at the Big Day Out. I think it was the one where Nirvana played. Now I've got all this mixed up.
That's 92.
Yeah, 92. That
92. So, I remember we went there the whole day. There was a coke ramp there, and Ted was there, and he put a word into Jason and Jake's ear, and at the end of the day, so we'd picked up Jason Ellis and Jake Brown that day. And,
yeah. So, sorry, it's some pretty heavy background noise, that's all. I'm just conscious of it. Tracks are going by.
And then, I think we had Gary Valentine.
So how did that come about, like Jake and Jason Ellis on the same day? Was it someone spoke to him at the Big Day Out? Ted on the side of the vert ramp?
Yeah, Ted
on the
pulled
platform.
him aside and hit him up.
And when they were just
I think we had Scott Spring at the time. He was riding one of our boards at the time, yeah.
Wow.
Scott Spring was there as one of the Omni team riders. I hope I'm not forgetting people.
I'm trying to think of early ads. I can think of that. I can think of really early Mitch Newell ad. Oh, no, I can think of Mitch Newell ad. I can think of... What was the first ad? Can I ask you that? Can we go back for a sec aside from the team? What was the first ad? I can remember one in Tracks.
That was Ted.
Black and white one in Tracks. It was just a logo.
Oh, I did a couple of snowboard ones in some snowboard magazines. They were just basically photocopy stuff.
Yeah. And were you doing the graphic design and layout for those as well?
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, I just was sending them photos and going, here, do whatever you do, guys. Just put this photo in and here's my logo. And that was about all. I was really letting them do whatever layout that they thought.
Yeah.
Probably one of the earliest ones was Ted doing a front side air, I think, at Mona Vale or something. And that was a good ad colour photo.
Yeah.
I think it might have been a photo from Sin. Not Sin. Skin.
Oh, yep, Skin, yep.
Yeah. So he's got a big blow up picture of that on his wall. So that might have been that first photo of Steve, sort of decent one.
Yeah. Was that in Skating Life, that one? I think.
Oh, can't remember. Probably.
I know there was half-page ads, like kind of half-page ads in the first slams, like in some of the early slams.
Yeah, that was about all I could afford every second or third ad or something.
They were great though.
Magazine or something.
They looked cool.
Oh, the ads were great. Like, it was a pity that sort of thing, you can't do that anymore because, the sales would boom and I'd be getting shops ringing me up, wanting stuff. And then when we got a website going, I remember after one ad where we put the website in, I got a call from the website owner up in Nowra, and he goes, "What are you guys doing? You nearly crashed me site." He's going, "You were 42% of our traffic."
So they were the provider.
Yeah,
they were the host of.
They were the host. Yeah, their website host, and he was freaking. We nearly.
We didn't have.
And that was just when an ad came out after Slam.
Wow.
So, 42% of our traffic, you nearly crashed us. What's going on?
Is it safe to say, like, to date, would that be the busiest era for Omni?
Yeah.
It was?
Yeah, around that.
Like
around
92 to 95? 6?
Yeah, we were sort of, yep. Yeah. Things were going pretty well. Who
was the first brand or label that wanted you to make their boards?
That's Amnesia.
Criminal? It was definitely Amnesia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's cool.
For some reason, I thought it might have been Criminal
Chris,
Skateboards.
They were later, but no, I remember Chris calling me up and, he had there was like a top deck logo print.
Yeah, that was on the top.
It's actually still on a board I got here somewhere.
Sorry, do you have that board?
Oh, I think it's gone now, but it was on a board that we were using as a sanding board. We had it on a swivel thing and we put the board, and it had the print on the bottom of the board there. But it was... That was him. But he was the first guy that we started making boards for.
Let's run off some labels, names that you've printed boards for. Come on.
Time,
Amnesia,
Criminal.
Time.
Well, yeah.
Criminal.
There's just so many. I honestly can't.
Control?
We did some for Adam, yeah. They were later. Because Adam was one of the team riders.
Yeah, he rode from
Maybe I should ask you, Jim.
I was just thinking
Yeah.
time, amnesia, criminal, control. Well, Bent was kind of through you though. Wasn't it? That was your own in-house company.
Yeah.
Bent.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's honestly,
Grace,
yeah.
Andrew
yeah,
Curry.
Yeah, Andrew, yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't even think about that.
Dwarf.
Oh yeah, Dwarf, of course. Yeah,
Who was that?
did something.
that's from Northern
just
Beaches. Pete Daly and all those guys.
Yeah. We did a lot of stuff. Like I did stuff for Sony and like a lot of music labels. We did, Rage Against the Machine ones and
Promo
yeah,
stuff.
just promo boards. So we did a lot of that sort of stuff as well. I think we did some for Koala there for a while.
So you were manufacturing boards for other people, like for distributors. So if it was Koala, they were getting you to make boards for them even.
Yeah, I don't think it was exactly Thug he was doing.
Oh, Thug,
I think.
yeah, that was Andy McKenzie's zine, and he
that.
made some boards. I rode one of them. I had a
Yeah.
Thug that said "Support your scene" on the bottom of it.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so
I
that
mean,
would've
a
been
lot of
printed
these
too.
guys I made some boards for, and then they ended up going somewhere else. I don't know if it was the boards weren't good enough or if they just got them cheaper, or whatever. I don't know, but and even now so many people, you guys wouldn't believe how many brands have gone through around. Like,
What do you mean?
just kids that start up labels that get 20 boards and you never hear from them again. They just get their mates together and get some boards. It'd be 200 or 300 brands I would have made boards for.
No way.
Like if you look at my customer artwork list at the moment, there'd probably be 50 or 60 on there, and I only just kicked that off again about 2-3 years ago. Before that. Because, a lot of people, you just don't hear from them again. They do one-off stuff, or a lot of art people, they've got art and they want their boards done for art. I do stuff for the National Gallery of Victoria, a lot of their boards, artists. I'm doing a run now for them. So they've been pretty good. Wow. A lot of people don't want to say, who they're making their boards from. That's another thing too. So I never really say who I'm doing stuff for.
Okay.
Because all those guys, they're past and gone.
Yeah. It's kind of like a trade secret thing, I suppose, if it's current.
Yeah. Some people are happy to go, yep, I'm making them, and other people, they want their brand to stand out, so they don't say, and that's industry wide. A lot of people don't want to say where their boards are made from, where they're made. But I just can't compete price wise really with what's coming in from China or America. So
That was actually one of my questions. Like, has it always been like that, or has it just become much more difficult in recent times, competing with the price point?
it was probably always difficult, but I think in the early days, no one really knew where to go. No one was making boards in China like in the 90s. There's probably one, or there was a small handful of factories that didn't know what they were doing, and obviously Chinese-made boards back then were pretty bad. And then you had some factories in the States, and but people probably didn't know or have access to that sort of stuff there. So that's why they came to me. I'm making boards here in Australia, and I think too, you got to ship them from overseas, and it costs a lot. Even though it might sound cheap, it costs a lot to import, and so my prices weren't so bad by the time they paid for all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I was always on the back foot with pricing, really. With labour and all the other stuff you got to do to import all the parts.
Random question: how would you feel about me calling you a craftsman? You comfortable with that?
Oh yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
So,
like I look at it as a craft. I try to do my best, and I don't. Yeah, I'm not into just smashing shit out. I really want to make sure I do a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, because as someone who's ridden skateboards for many years, and just sometimes just not respecting the board and just burning through it, sometimes snapping it, focusing it, and then being in this space. I've never been in a manufacturing space. I guess most skaters haven't. And the thing that's just hit me is just I can now see the craftsmanship. And when you said to us today, sometimes I've got to make things so I can make things, a screen, like a curved screen and the frame for that, or, the plastic covering for a certain mold and things like that.
Yeah, a lot of jigs and things that you have to make to make something else or whatever. And
that's why I want to see if you can. I don't know if this is a tricky question to ask, but for those that don't know, tell us what it takes to produce a skateboard from the very start to the finish. Can you break the process down? Most people have never heard, like
step by step.
Even when you're talking about like dyeing the veneers today.
Even just a simplified version, because a lot of people, until I read that interview of yours in that early slam in 1994, I just really hadn't given it a lot of thought, and that stuck with me. I mean, it's now 30 years later, and that stuck with me.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I guess you've got to start with US maple, the rock maple. It's only grown in the Great Lakes area of the US and Canada, so that's one thing that. That's for weight ratio and strength and that's the only really timber to use. People might play around with all sorts of fibres and things, but basically you still can't beat a 7-ply board that's been around since the 70s.
Get the timber.
So you get the timber. There's mills over there around the Great Lakes area that supply it. You've got to get it cut up to the face sheets that's a better grade quality, no knots or anything in it. Right. Then you've got cores and then cross-ply. So that's imported from the Great Lakes. So that goes on a truck and then goes to LA and then shipped by water. I get the glue from a factory in LA, so that's also shipped over from LA. So once you got the veneer here, it's raw, and I get the face sheets unsanded. You can buy them from the mills, sanded face sheets and coloured dye. But yeah, like I said, the amount you got to get for the colours is I prefer to have more control here to dye them, so I've made a dye tank there. So that's pretty much the first thing is you dye your veneer, put that in a tank and vacuum it and then pressurise it and with the dye, water-based dye, dry them out and then smash the face sheets through a sander to sand the faces of them so they're nice and smooth. Then put them in the press, so you've got to run them through a glue spreader which puts the correct amount of glue on each time, so that that's the thing about being like the same all the time. It's got to, everything's have to get down to a process and do everything the same, so that you know where you are and how much you're putting on. So I had to make a glue spreader, and the other thing is the glue dries very fast, so you can't be mucking around with it. You've got to smash it through the glue spreader, stack it up, and throw it in the press as quickly as possible. So that's can be a flaw. That if you take too long to glue your board up, that it'll be semi-dry by the time you start to clamp it and it won't dry properly. So putting the glue through, putting it in the press. The big guys can leave it in for an hour, 2 hours. Sometimes if I'm not busy, I'll leave them overnight, but you can...
In the press?
Yeah.
Does that mean they're going to be better?
Some people say yes, maybe, but, BBS, they're one of the best factories in the world. They're in for an hour.
Okay.
And they pull them out, and then you've got to leave it cure for about 3 or 4 days at minimum. Then from there, so the blanks, then they're a square blank. They come out. They've got pins in them where your centre lines are, and that lines up with. Then it goes to the drill jig. It's a 4-hole drill jig, so you line it up with the pin holes from the blank from the moulds. Drill the holes, and that basically sets the board then to the centre line of the blank and the concave, and then your cutting template will log into that with the pin holes where your truck holes are. Vacuum it down, cut the board out with a router. There's a number of ways you can do it. Some of the bigger guys have got CNC machines they put in, and I'm still cutting it out on a hand router, which, to be honest, I could probably do 2 in the time a CNC machine could cut them out, but obviously you don't, it's not the wear and tear on your hands, my hands are... So once it's cut, then you round it off on a little edge rounder, like a little router bit, and then sand it on a drum sander, the edges. So I only sand the edges. You shouldn't really have to touch the faces, because once you've sanded the face, you shouldn't really touch it. It should be good. Then we're up to sand the edges, then give it a bit of a buff on the slapper wheel, and then into the spray booth where you spray a sanding sealer on it. Let that dry overnight, and then hit it back on the buffer wheel to get it smooth again, and then hit it with a gloss coat. And then from there you might screen print it or put a heat transfer on it, and then shrink wrap it, and that's about it.
Sell it, ship it.
Yep, ship it. pack the boxes, wrap it up,
send the invoice,
do the bloody labels.
give them a 90-day invoice.
No,
Don't have to answer that question.
well, no, I'm fine with it. It's money up front, because
is that how you work now, though? Because I mean, I know cash
I've been
flow.
burnt so many times.
So is it because I know cash flow's a thing, right?
Yep.
You know, you can't make stuff if you don't have money to buy stuff.
No.
And then you sell stuff and you've got to wait for the money to come in. Okay.
It's hard. I mean, a lot of, most people are reputable, and I'll say they're all good. They've been good, but, I've been burnt. I sent 100 boards to some guy and I never heard from him ever again. And,
ouch. After all that work.
Yeah.
After all
that.
And now we know the work.
It just happens. Like I said, I've probably 300, 400 brands I've done stuff for people. And, most of them are just kids from out of the blue. Hey, can you make me some boards? Yeah, mate. This is how much it's going to cost. When you've paid me, I'll start. Yeah. Because, you're making, especially when you're making stuff special for people, that they want this, that and the other and a special shape and put this special graphic on it. It's like, what am I going to do with it if you don't pay me?
Yeah.
It's not so bad if you're selling to shops and selling your brand. If the shops don't pay, well, it's either bad luck or, can you send me stuff back and I'll sell it to someone else. But if you're making something special for someone, what are you going to do with it if you get stuck with it?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, after many years of being burnt, it's just down to, mate, this is how much it's going to cost. You pay me the money and I'll get cranking on it.
I think a lot of people maybe haven't put in the thought to where their skateboard has actually come from. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I don't think a lot of people realize the amount of craft that goes into it. And maybe some of those people, I mean, not that this is right anyway. I mean, you pay for, if you've asked for something and you've ordered something, you should pay for it, But I don't think people understand the amount of effort that's gone into making them. And so therefore, if they're not paying you for it, they might just think a machine's spitting them out. You know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds ridiculess.
No, they do.
But people just think they're coming out of it, that someone inserts some wood into like this big skateboard making machine that looks like something from a Looney Tunes cartoon and then ching chong chong, and then out the other end spits out.
I mean, is that what's happening in China though?
No.
There's still people.
No, I went to a wheel manufacturing plant when I was working for a wheel company in China almost 10 years ago, and there was people sitting there running the print, like the print pad onto the wheels. There was people like putting them on a lathe to
turn them down.
Tool them down, and it was amazing. And it was actually a really fantastic factory. All the people that were working in there were like kind of like my age at the time, all just wearing like punk band shirts and stuff. It was not the stereotype of like what people assume would be in like a big factory environment at all. These were hands-on manufacturing. And this is a big manufacturer too, not,
Yep. No, it is. It is, yeah. You go into most factories and there's tons of people that they're touched 20 times or more, I suppose. And a lot of it's by hand, just some of the bigger guys with the CNC machine, but they've still got to put it on the CNC and press the button and it'll cut it out, but hand sanding it and gluing it up, you got to, it's very labour intensive, yeah.
How many skaters do you think you've sponsored over the years?
I think it's around 64, something like that. It's on my website, but I've got a few young blokes now that I haven't added to the list, so it'd be up around 70. And then, a lot of guys that just get flow and have had a few boards here and there, and this guy's pretty hot, or some kids are just, they got talent coming out of them, but their parents might be poor, so there's a lot of kids like that I've given stuff to that just need a bit of a, this guy just needs a new board. He's riding something trash, and look how good he is. And
well, what's your main motivation though? Is it to build your business, or is it to just support the culture?
Oh, a bit of both. I mean, you can't be giving too much stuff away. It depends on how well maybe business is going, that if you can afford it or not, I suppose. But
has it really? Do you think it's helped?
Yes,
as you reflect.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I do like being able to help people and give people a product. That's what I really like about an end product, is watching someone ride it. Whatever I'm doing, is you've thought about it from the very start to carve the mould, to make the concave, to everything you think about each aspect of the of the board and how it all goes together, and then finally seeing someone riding it, and it's a real product. It's not a toy, you know. It's like high end, like performing equipment. So that's what I like to see, that people riding stuff, and that was the other thing with, you know, designing skate parks is, you know, when you get the park in your head and then you finally build it and see people skate it and see them all taking lines that you sort of were imagining in your head when you're sort of trying to design it. So it's all about, just seeing someone excel on something that you've conceived of in your, taken from your mind to, you know, to a finished product, something real and tangible. So that's what I like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the riders give you, like, not you, but I mean companies in general, like, it's not just about also helping promote the company, but it's also, skateboarding is such an insular industry that it also gives, like, the company legitimacy.
Yeah.
As well. So if you just were manufacturing skateboards, even if you did skateboard yourself, if they were kind of just coming out of nowhere without somebody kind of endorsing them in some way, then it's almost like it's not even about people purchasing them. It's also about, it brings you up another level in people's eyes almost as well, you know, as far as the culture goes, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's all about, you know, what the brand is, you know, and so
like
that's what you need to be careful who you're sponsoring and who you want to represent your brand. Who are you? You know, so I've always sort of wanted, you know, decent people. You know, I if some guy was hot and he was an arsehole, I was like, there's no way I'm going to sponsor him. You know, you want that good person. You want someone that's going to look out for your company, but also it's an image that you want that particular person to portray. So, yeah, like you could make the best boards in the world, but it's not. Who's going to know about it? And how do they relate to what it is that you're doing and your brand? Yeah. So that's what. You know, I don't know. I mean, I suppose there's plenty of other brand, not skateboard brands, but, you know, other brands that are doing all sorts of stuff, you know, watches and cars, and it's all about, you know, the image and what you're portraying and who are you as a company and what it is that you want to convey out there. So, I mean, it's a bit hard sometimes to pin down, and it also gets into your artwork too, what sort of graphics you put in on it. You know, are they skull and bones, or are they little cartoony sort of kiddie stuff, or what? What's your scene? What's your brand?
Have you ever had to kick anybody off the team?
I don't think we have. No, everyone's been pretty good. I mean, you know, they're a bit of a process of who you sponsor. You sort of always vetted and you know, looking out for who's who, and it's always the word on the ground. Like, we've never really sponsored anyone by a Sponsor Me tape. You know, that never really is not how it happens. Although we did sponsor one guy from a Sponsor Me tape, and that was Dustin Dolan. Man, that tape just blew over. We were sitting around looking at it.
Have you still got that?
Somewhere? I do somewhere. Yeah, yeah. He was, you know, they're on the train coming in from out west. Where was he from? Like
Katoomba.
Yeah, they were on the train and. Oh, Omni, can you sponsor me and that? And then they go there into town and, man, he's doing all this stuff. And we were just sitting there just going, what?
So you're blown away.
Sponsor this guy.
You did?
Yeah. So he was the only one we've ever sponsored from a Sponsor Me video. But
wow.
The rest of it's all been, you know, word of mouth, and, you know, like usually it may be through the shops, you know, oh, I've got this young kid, or other team riders that say, yep, you know, this guy's good, and because they've got to fit in with other people in the team too, you know. That's probably what we haven't had, like, you know, the time guys, they were all mates, they all skated together. I don't think we sort of really had that in a way, because a lot of times there, you know, I had, you know, like Seb and Trent and guys up in, up like the Goldie, and then had guys in Melbourne and guys in Sydney and other people that might have been in regional areas. So we didn't have that, like, you know, like team bond thing, like, you know, like Time did or whatever, that they're all just mates that skated together all the time. And, you know, that was good for them because they would make all the videos they did and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it was, mate, but still, we had good guys and it was good to get the name around sort of Australia.
Yeah, amazing. So I know, like, so it seems like there's a resurgence of Omni of late in the last couple of years, correct?
I'm trying, yeah.
Yeah, like I know it feels like Omni went pretty quiet though around 2008, would you say?
Well,
2007?
it was probably earlier than that, I think. So what happened was I basically shot myself in the foot by making boards for other companies. And like our brand fell by the wayside. And probably the biggest thing there was I started making shop boards. So, you know, a shop would be selling heaps of our boards and, do you do a shop board for us? And, oh, yeah, but, you know, make sure you keep buying Omni. Oh, yeah. And, you know, they'd be buying a lot of shop boards, which was good, but then they'd stop buying our boards. And really that's, I think, was the downfall that we were making boards for all these other companies and shops that they weren't selling our boards. Oh, you want an Omni? Omni are making our boards now, so you buy our shop board.
So you were getting sales though. That's a sale. If you're
well,
making
they were
shop
buying
boards.
bulk, so they'll probably get in a little bit cheaper than what our wholesale was as well. So you know, but yeah, that was probably really my downfall. It was. I don't mind making other brands like skate brands boards now, but I don't think. You know, doing a shop board is doing yourself any favours because they're not going to buy your brand.
Right.
So,
Gotcha.
early 2000s, that's when I moved down to Mount Beauty for a while and started making boards there. And that's when it got to a point where I was mostly making boards for other companies then, and they were all going, oh, you know, can you do a better price? And it's like, oh, matey, I can't beat that price. And I was starting to lose a lot of customers, and that was really, it forced me then to think, all right, well, am I going to keep making boards and doing boards for other companies or close up because I wasn't making that many boards. So I actually then thought, oh, well, I've got to go to China and get boards made over there. To
actual Omni boards made in China.
Well, I was putting other people's brands on them by then. People they wanted a cheaper board. And I was like, well, I can make it for this much, but it wasn't in the economics of their business to pay that much.
Mm.
So basically, yeah, I went to China and found some factories and started getting boards there because then the boards were coming in, I was putting their graphics on them and they were going out the door. And that's basically, I stopped, you know, I've still got boxes of all those Omni boards up there from one of the factories in China, but they've all got Omni with, you know, from a Chinese factory. But, basically I was just making boards for other people then.
So they're Omni boards that were made in a Chinese factory and they're just on the rack and never to be seen again?
Well, probably.
Is that...
Yeah.
Is that...
I've had a few people say, you know, I want to get 20 cheap boards or something. I think they'll probably scratch the graphics off and put something on. So I've been selling them that way, but they're just going to sit there. I'm not interested in them, you know, like that. So basically, yeah, from the early 2000s, 2005, I was supplying a lot of other brands with Chinese-made boards and putting their graphics on them. And I was, you know, I was doing all right. I was turning over a lot of boards, but I wasn't doing Omni. And I kind of had Omni on some of them, but I just...
How are you feeling, though, about that? Because it seems like it
bit lost,
goes against
because
everything you
well,
kind
it
of
was, yeah. But, you know, I was starting to get more and more people coming to me wanting boards made. So I was actually reasonably busy. So, you know, things were ticking along all right. And I was, doing tons of boards for other people. But, you know, so that was like 2005. And it wasn't until about, I've been sort of trying to get back here now for about 5 or 6 years that I've been pressing boards here again now. So it was all that time that I was just making boards for other people, pulling the shrink wrap off a box, you know, smashing it through a heat roller and shrink wrapping them and packing them off again. So that was all that consisted of for 10 years or more. So I got a little bit soulless there for a while and not really knowing where to go because, you know, making boards here was too expensive. So
And you were just trying to adapt.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It's interesting.
So when did you pull the press back out again?
Oh, well, it's probably been about 5 or 6 years now since I started. I just went, stuff this. I need to get Omni back up and running. I need to get that going. Then it was like, oh, well, I can't put Omni on. I don't want to put them on a Chinese-made board. I've got to make them here again. It's like, oh, all right. And I had a whole lot of stuff sort of basically sitting in this back corner here, just all gathering rust and shit. And then that was the mission, to get everything back a go. I pulled everything out, ripped everything down to pieces, cleaned them up, repainted it, everything, and yeah, it's probably solid 3 or 4 years of 7 days a week, 12-hour days. I mean, I've been working 7 days a week now since then, at least here, doing that, getting everything back up and running. So, and then, yeah, you can see I've made a whole lot. So that was the original press there. There's 3 beauties here, and then I've got the snowboard press, and I've made the dye tanks and the drilling rigs and another sanding machine, and
damn,
all the screen print stuff.
This is all you. No help.
No, you can't.
What you see is what you get.
Can't,
it's just amazing.
Can't buy this
Dude,
stuff. You've got to make it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. I mean, you buy the raw materials, obviously, but
but even the setup, then, like, I mean, how long before you were actually starting to press boards again?
Well, it's probably a good 3 years.
3 years of like setup.
Yeah, it's taken a while
to get the presses.
Well, you know, I've sort of got some veneer from a few places and just starting to test, you know, play around with stuff. So yeah, I was making boards, but not sort of what I was doing now. The numbers now.
What about? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just getting everything back up and running and testing everything. You know, you don't want to sort of start smashing hundreds of things out and having something wrong. You know, and then all of a sudden you got 100 boards there that there's something wrong with them, and you know, so you do little bits at a time and just work each process out as you go.
So about 3 years of setup and development.
Yeah, making all this equipment and that. So I mean, you're still doing boards. I think I still had some boards from China left over, so I was still sort of, you know, it was tailing off that and bringing in my stuff. So I lost a lot of customers that were getting the Chinese stuff, because once I told them the price of my boards, it's almost double of what I was selling the Chinese boards for. And they were like, oh, that doesn't work with our business model. So, so I've lost a lot of customers.
But
were regulars.
Are you more in a mindset now of like, well, listen, like, this is what I charge, and I'm more of like almost like a boutique sort of range?
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing for me is I want to get my brand up and running. And so for me to sell to a shop at like wholesale price, that's fine, but not at the like what I call OEM price, which is sort of, you know, mass original equipment manufacturing price. You've got to be below the wholesale, because people have to sell that to a shop then. That's what so my wholesale price is fine, but the OEM price is not, and that was the big turnover, you know, a lot of boards. You know, when you do an OEM order, it's a lot, whereas, you know, the wholesale stuff, shops might buy only a couple, but there's not really any shops at the moment still taking my stuff. There's really just Trilogy in Canberra at the moment that bought a few.
Nice.
So, yeah. But, yeah, you know, it's a whole thing. It's getting the graphics back up and running. There's a lot to do here.
And you feel happy?
Yeah.
You seem happy. Like, you feel like, I don't know.
It's all right. I'd like a little bit more time to myself. Like I said, I haven't surfed all winter because...
Take photos?
I haven't even done that, no. No, see, when I was just doing boards with the heat transfers, I had plenty of time to do that. I could go out and walk around the bush and take landscape stuff and go here or there. But now it's, like I said, you spend 12-hour days, 7 days a week for probably 6 years now here. Yeah.
You've been pouring your own urethane too. How did you get into that? Like, at what stage did you decide you were going to put your fingers in that as well?
Oh, well, of course I thought it would be easy, You see. I don't know, I saw a few videos of some guy pouring some stuff and I thought, that doesn't look too hard. But, yeah, hats off to him, though, mate. It's, it's a lot harder than you think. a lot of these guys that were pouring stuff, it wasn't good urethane. It was like a lower grade. So, once you find the people that I'm getting the urethane from, they've actually got offices in the States and they sell. It's a skateboard urethane, and they sell to some of the skate brands in America that make skateboard wheels. Mm-hmm. So it's a good formula, but it's very finicky and, to mix and hand pour. That's the thing, to hand pour high-end urethane. That's the trick. So, yeah, that's been 4 years now since I sort of thought I'd give it a go, and probably thousands and thousands of dollars in moulds and so. Yeah, just getting all the basic stuff. You can see there's not much over there, but there's probably about $6,000 worth of stuff there.
I believe it.
Guess.
In your Slam interview in 1994, you said that you were thinking about like casting your own trucks. Did that ever go ahead? Did you end up ever experiment with making your own trucks? It was something you said you were interested in.
I made some sort of cast moulds or sort of stuff out of plaster and played around with it. But yeah, no, I know how to do it, sort of thing. I've seen, I've been to plenty of factories in China that make them, and I've seen how to do it. But yeah, that's a whole other thing again. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of setup and.
So if there was some kind of catastrophe where Australia was cut off from the rest of the world, essentially Omni we could come to you and you could make us from scratch. We would still have our own skateboarding industry right here.
Yes, you're our only hope, Cary.
Yeah, that between everything else I'm doing. Yeah.
Pretty amazing. If you had your time again, would you do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, like I said, it hasn't. Like I said, it just kept me going. I don't have much to show for it all, But yeah, it's been good. Yeah, yeah. Like there was a point in 1990, and I said things were going pretty well, and I was thinking of coming down the coast here, and I'm going to Ulladulla, and I'm going to make skateboards. Well, right at that time, I was offered a 5-year contract in Singapore to build those double towers. And so, yeah, that was going to be 5 years in Singapore, and so that was the choice I had then, to go down to Ulladulla and be a bum and make skateboards, or go over for a 5-year contract in a high rise and probably do pretty well for myself, like money wise.
Do you ever wonder if you had went down that track?
Oh, well, for a start, I wouldn't have had my kids. I'd probably, who knows what sort of on that side of things would have happened over there. But yeah, it was a 5-year contract to Singapore, to build those twin towers. I forget the name of them now. But
how does it feel when your son's in the factory doing his thing, making stuff?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, he's been working with me a bit. Like when we started making indoor skate parks back in around 2010 or something. He came down and sort of helped as a labourer and that. So, yeah, he's getting pretty good with his hands to build stuff. He hasn't stuck out a trade as such. He's done landscape gardening and that. But yeah, it's good to see him now here. He comes in and builds snowboards. So he's doing the snowboards, he calls it, or Snow Surf. So that's his Instagram is at _snow surf. So he goes to Japan a lot. He's been snowboarding, man, like non-stop when I was in Mount Beauty in 2004, he was probably only about 12 then, or 13 or something, and I remember trying to snowboard with him, and I was having trouble keeping up with him then. He was like 12. And he's snowboarded every year since. He's done sometimes back-to-back where he'll go down to Jindabyne and work there, and then he'll come here and do sort of work around landscaping or whatever, and then off to Japan. So he usually spends a month in Japan. So yeah, he's building all the snow surf type snowboards. The bigger sort of early rise sort of snow surf type powder boards. So he's got boards here. So yeah, it's great. He can come in here and make a snowboard. I don't really have to show him anything now. He's done quite a few. So, no, that's cool. My other young bloke, he's in Canberra. He works for the Salvos. He's almost a manager or something. He doesn't want to be a manager, but yeah, he's having a happy life there. He's not into anything sporty at all.
There's no grandkids in the mix?
No, not from these guys at the moment. No. Yeah, well, my oldest son, Joel, he's having too much fun. You know, I've told him that last year he was my age when I had him, and he just shook his head and couldn't understand it. There's no way. We're having too much fun. It costs too much. It's like, yeah, tell me about it. Anyway, no, it's all good.
Do you feel like this? I feel like Omni's, I mean, it's a legacy. You know that, don't you?
Yeah. I'm getting on a bit now, but I've got to keep doing it. I've got nothing to fall back on. I've got no super. I haven't put anything away. I've got nothing going on. I've got debts that I've still got to pay the bank. So it's like, man, I've just got to make this thing happen. There's no way I'm walking away from it. I really want to get things up and running and get the business going so that it does succeed. I mean, yeah, I've been doing it for 35 years. I don't know. Has it succeed yet?
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm going to put you on the spot again. Like, how do you define success?
Well, I don't know. I mean, at the moment it sort of gets down to money.
What about supporting
I'm
some
just
of the
still
greatest?
Struggling.
But what about supporting and some of the greatest skaters in Australia of all time?
Oh, that's a good legacy. I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah, the impact you've made culturally. I know obviously you need to eat and you need a roof over your head, but there's no amount of money that you could put on that. I mean, I was saying earlier that you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that was mine or Shannon's age that has not had either an Omni board under their feet or a board that had essentially been made for another company by you.
Yeah.
Everybody, we all knew people that rode for you. We've all ridden your boards. I mean, we've all looked at your ads. Culturally, that legacy is really, really impressive. And almost as far as how fickle skateboarding goes, it's almost unsustainable. When you look at the history and turnover of skateboarding companies in Australia, I mean, Darren Burford's been making blanks up in Queensland for a long time. I know he makes surfboards now, not skateboards, but even that, the amount that you put out, as far as like sheer volume, nobody else can come close to that.
I know.
It's incredible.
With minimal help, it's amazing.
Yeah, like this one man kind of army of producing. Yeah, nobody else. You've touched more people's skateboards in Australia than any other individual person.
In a good way.
In a good way. Yeah.
Touched a lot of
there was a lot of boards made in the 80s. I'll tell you, like Burford and I think Righteous and all that.
Oh, yeah, I forget about that. Gary Hambley, is that his name from Righteous?
I think so.
Is that his name?
Right.
Yeah, because I was
in Queensland, yeah.
Yeah, only
Darren Burford and
only a couple of years ago, and they were before me, and it was only a couple of years ago I was talking to the manager of Briggs Veneers, and he was the guy bringing all the veneers in, and he could not believe how much veneer they were bringing in the 80s. It was like, well, it wasn't me buying it. He was just going container load after container load. He was dumbfounded by the amount of veneer they were bringing in. And like I said, I was only just starting out then, so it was all those other guys using all that veneer. It wasn't me.
Yeah, well, Burford Blank was. I mean, every surf shop in Newcastle where I lived at the time had Burford Blanks.
Yep. I'm sure there was a lot of other
before I saw Omnis. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of some of the other brands that were being made at other unknown places as well. I think there was a place at Seven Hills that were making some of those early boards.
Is that where where Aussie boards were being? Aussies
that
were being
might
pressed?
have been. Yeah, there was that Bowmanite stuff and all that. But Bowmanite, yeah,
cardboard.
Aussie and Bonzo, yeah.
So there was probably them, but
in the Northern Beaches.
I don't think a lot of that was rock maple. I'm not sure because I've got a couple of the boards up there and they're just falling apart. So, but I'd say it'd be Darren and Righteous, those two guys up in Queensland. I don't know what was going on down in Melbourne or whatever, but yeah, he was just shaking his head at how much veneer they were importing, container after container, he said, in the 80s. So it's really dropped off, and that's a sad thing that the sort of manufacturing here for that sort of stuff there's probably about 10 guys that I know of that are making boards here, but they're very small numbers. They're high quality, but they're very small numbers.
Yeah, there's a guy near us that makes death breath boards.
Yeah,
Chris, he's a lovely
yep.
guy, but he that's a really boutique thing. He makes kind of custom boards for people and for himself to ride. He's a good skateboarder
so
himself as well.
There's that sort of stuff going on here now, but like what they were saying, how many boards were being made back in the day, it just was mind-boggling. So it's really gone downhill. But like you said about me wanting to be a bit more of a boutique brand of some sort, I think people are going back to the old school of doing things like hand screen printing, and like you see all these boards now coming out. A lot of the big brands are doing that. They're 6, 7, 8 colours, direct boards printing, and they're selling for a lot of money, and that sort of money is doable. I think it's a long time coming that prices of skateboards need to go up.
They've been the same price since 1985.
They were $120 back then, and they still virtually are now.
I know, but someone's tried to explain it to me numerous times, and I just never understand why the price never changed.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think it was the way the manufacturing was going, that it was going from the States and then to Mexico, and then it went to Taiwan, I think, and then China, and then there's I think that people are trying to do it in India. So the manufacturing is going to sort of more and more third world countries for labour. And a lot of these big companies in China, they're actually importing their logs and peeling their own veneers, and they're still US maple, but it's labour. I think it's got to this point where they just can't go any cheaper anymore. And
they can't find anywhere third world enough?
Well, maybe.
I don't know. It's harsh to say. Is that true?
The glue, you got the board, the maple, that still comes from the Great Lakes area. It's got to come from there, and that's been going up forever. For the last 3 years, every time I've ordered more boards, the veneer's gone up, only by a little bit, but it still goes up. And so these big factories, they're trying to find ways to, make boards cheaper and cheaper, but materials are still going up. I think it's hit that point where the price has to finally go up. Yeah.
So you do custom one-off orders and stuff for people? If they want
We can. I'm getting all my stuff still printed in China because you just. It's good quality. It's done by one of the biggest factories over there. And
for the heat transfers?
Yeah.
And then you heat transfer them on?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's... like if I one-off something to do like screen printing or something, it'd cost you $300 to set up, burn the screens and do all that to print one board, but that's not right. So, they can do a heat transfer, a digitally printed heat transfer for pretty cheap. So that's the best way that way.
But you still do a lot of screen printing in-house?
Yeah, I'm doing more now. So I've done those reissues with Cary, Trent, Steve, Jake, and Alex Smith are the first 5. So and they're all screen printed. Cary Fisher's one was a digital heat transfer, screen printed heat transfer, but the others have been screen printed. And that's what I want to do, is bring all those old graphics back and screen print them. But again, sales are just not there to do the sort of numbers at the moment, so it's hard to set up like that. But that's the direction I want to go with most of our graphics, is just direct print it again and, just sort of bring some of that old school good stuff back.
Wow, man.
So I'm happy with the quality of the boards now. Like I said, it's taken me 5 years to get the factory equipment up to speed, and I'm happy with the quality of the board. So now I'm working on all the graphics and side of things.
Yes.
So that's a whole other deal there.
Graphics.
Yeah, like what sort of graphics do you want to put on the board? Who are you? What sort of graphics are you going to put on? And it's like I'm a little bit lost there at the moment. I don't know. It's easy when you've got a team rider and
they tell you
pro board, and it's like, I want this on it. And it's like, okay, cool. For me to think who the hell I am and what it is that I want to, what message I want to get out there and all that sort of shit, it's like, I don't know. I'm still trying to... And
are you kind of trying to think what's marketable as well?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think you got to just like what it is you're doing, but, there's certain things you can do that kind of can look good too, I don't know. I mean, at the moment, I'm tossing up stuff to do like whistleblowers. Okay, I don't know. That sounds kind of weird, but you got like Assange and Snowden, and then you go back to people like Serpico and Silkwood, Karen Silkwood.
Dude, I like it.
Yeah.
Erin Brockovich. They're all people.
Profiles.
Yeah, and
like portrait shots.
Yeah, they could look boring, but I think it's the way you could do it that would the graphic would look good, but it's also sending some sort of message there that stand up for what's right.
Yeah, I like that. I'd ride a Serpico board any day.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank Serpico. Yeah, I've been researching them all. I know, I know what.
I'd rather join Assange board. I would.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I mean. I'd like to make, you could put some dopey-looking picture of him there, or you could do some really sweet art and screen print it and make it pop. So, yeah, they're things I'm tossing up. Yeah, because I like to be able to sort of say something or have some message, not just, I don't know, just not pump stuff out for the sake of it, just weird sort of shit, and disconnected stuff too. So, anyway, that's just a thought.
Right. I like it.
So,
see, that's again just another layer of what you do. Like then you got the hard skills of manufacturing, and then you got to have the creative soft skills to come up with the ideas. Like that's exhausting. That's exhausting in itself. Like it's mentally exhausting.
It is.
Thinking about it.
I'm a hands man. I like to work. I'm good I'm good to get down there and do stuff. But to think that sort of stuff.
What about getting input off some of your writers, like Steve Tierney, for example? He's an artist.
Did he change the Omni font? Did he do that font at some stage?
Well, he did that. Yeah. Oh, it's not exactly the same as what that is, but it's very close.
The one that's on your shirt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You don't like to touch up nice art, but it was just a little bit maybe unfinished, but it was essentially 98% what you see here now,
And did Steve just draw that on a piece of paper and send it to you? Or?
Yeah, I've still got there was a couple of pictures there. You go, just thinking about this and that. It was just a line sketch, And I thought we all looked out and went, that looks cool.
Wow.
So we just sort of trimmed it a little bit, just jizzed it up a bit and, Then
you've got to pay artists for their time and energy too. That's another thing. You do get an artist to put something together for you. That's another thing,
I don't
right?
have the money for it.
So that's why it's another thing.
Keep it all in house, and then it's
tricky, man.
Well, I got a young bloke. He just come in the other day, and he just goes, "Can you make me a board?" And he brought this egg-shaped board in. He's just moved back down here, and he's been living in Germany for the last 10 years, and he'd done a board, some graphics, looked a bit like maybe the Welcome sort of graphics or something for a mate of his, a board company in Germany. And I said, that's a cool graphic. Oh, yeah, I did that. So I cut him out a board, and he's working on some sort of graphic at the moment.
Graphic for you as well.
Pro rata deal, so that's about the best I can do. I don't have dollars to pay people to. And like I said, I've got no idea what I want, so I'm a bit hopeless. I can't get an artist in and go, do this. It's like, read my mind, please, and draw me something.
Dude,
I don't know.
I like the whistleblower's idea personally.
Yeah,
man.
so do I.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like something that can sort of send a message and, try to help
Society.
Instill some the young kids with some good ideas, and just don't lead them down with weird, I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like some sort of message there. You need to have something behind you, who you are and what you stand for. So anyway, that's the idea.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
How are we all feeling? How you feeling, Jim?
I'm just it sounds really corny and it's almost embarrassing to say, but I'm still, I'm on a high because
of the paint glue or the glue?
Not because, no, not because of the epoxy. No, because, like I said earlier, we've all ridden some of Cary's boards, and I think that the earliest skateboarding magazines I ever had your ads in it. Then I had magazines that had interviews with you in it, and you were kind of this, had friends that were sponsored by you at various stages, and I feel like you were this kind of always in the background of my era of Australian skateboarding culture.
Yeah.
You're like the name omnipresent, like Omni was always there, whether or not like, even if it was like, I mean, Amnesia Skateboards is from Newcastle, which is where I'm from. All the first Amnesia boards were Omnis. Like without Omni, like so much of my like really formative years just don't, like, I don't know. It sounds weird when you break it down like that, but like so important to like, I don't know who I am even now. I mean, I like write for Slam and like all these things in some way, like without like writing those boards or without you supporting those other companies that were really influential, like in Australian skateboarding, like, you know, people like Shannon, I wouldn't even be here to interview in the first place. So I'm pretty like excited about that. I fan out on all these, you know, when I get to meet people like you or like people in like that write for magazines or whatever, as maybe basic as that might seem to some people, for me it's really important, and it's really important to our culture as well.
Nice. It is. I agree.
Thank you. I mean, I think when I spoke to you on the phone first up, I always felt like I was an outsider. I didn't really feel like I was part of this, you know.
Is that
because
why?
Well, you know, I felt like an outsider with surfing because I was a Westie. You know, you go down to Narrabeen and, you know, you're a Westie, and that's why I like coming down here in a way, because I had almost a home here surfing because I wasn't a local at a surf break. Skateboarding, well, mate, I just was still skateboarding in the 70s, in the 80s, you know. I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't a skater. You know, I skated.
Well, that makes you a skater. You are a skater then if you skated.
We skated most afternoons, and, you know, I can stand on a board. I don't look whack, you know. I can push and turn and kick turn and do things.
You're not tray flipping 10 stairs.
Well, no. And, you know, like I didn't see proper skateboarding until like the early 80s. You know, we were still riding our boards, and then another mate of a mate came over. Oh, you know, there's a skate park at North Ryde. And I went, fucking what? You know, we were riding some stupid little bank in the school.
Shit.
You know,
There's
just
Adrian Jones.
surfing bank.
What school?
Yeah.
What school was it with the bank?
Oh, it was just West Pennant Hills Primary School. No,
Yeah,
it was the shittiest bank because it had a curb, like a square curb at the bottom.
That's the one that Aaron Brown had a photo doing the kickflip to fakie on.
I knew you'd
kickflip to
know.
fakie on.
So I knew.
West Pennant Hills Primary School.
Yeah, that bank was still there in the 90s.
Are you kidding me?
Jim's a skate historian, man.
We spent every fucking afternoon up there just surf skating that bank, and there was a little corner where we'd do a hip, and and then you'd have to jump down the little thing there. That was our spot.
Yep.
But in the 80s, do you remember seeing the likes of like Adrian Jones and John Gray?
Well, this is when this guy said, hey, you know, there's a skate park at North Ryde. And we went, fucking what?
Yeah.
So we went out there. We went out there probably 5 or 6 times. And so the first time we go out there, it's been closed. So it had been and gone. And we didn't even know about it. So we both, you know, you go through the fence. There was an opening in the fence at the side there. And we went in there and we were looking around, and the guys are there. There was 5 guys. I remember to this day. They were all dressed in black. They had a big boom box there.
Yeah.
And they had big wide boards, and we all had these little skinny shit things. And, you know, we were little surfy sort of guys with our blonde hair and colourful clothes maybe, because these guys were, you know, they were all black. And then they were sitting in the grassed area over there with their boom box going, you know, Dead Kennedys going or whatever. And, those guys are punks, you know. And so then we started seeing them skate on the big half pipe there, and they were getting air out of it, and it was going, what the that's the first time I'd ever seen like real skateboarding.
And who was it then? Do you remember?
Well,
like Biff?
Because I went back a few times, and I ended up getting some Super 8 footage of them. So I got 9 minutes of Super 8 footage of those guys skating there.
Who was it?
Well, after showing it to some other people later, many years later, Biff, Adrian Jones, Sin, John Fox, Matt Davis.
No.
Wow.
Way. Have you still got it?
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've got to get it digitised. It's good footage. It's clean, like nice Super 8 footage. I got 3 rolls of it, three 3-minute rolls of it.
Dude, you've got to do some kind of collab on that with
I got a lot
Cockroach.
of shit. Don't you worry. I got a lot of shit. I'm talking to some other people.
Maybe
that
just
do
give
some
to,
sort
you know
of
what,
stuff.
just give it to me and Jim. We'll look after it for you.
But, I got hours of snowboard stuff too. That's when we went over that big trip to the States and went to Kashmir and raced in the US Open and the World Titles. I got 3 hours of Super 8 footage there. I filmed everything, and
it's amazing, dude.
So, and then when we came back to Australia, and so I got all the snowboard stuff. So I got a lot of snowboard stuff. I'm talking to some guys. One guy that was actually posting a lot of stuff up recently in some of the skate mags, Campbell Drummond, and I'm noticing all these photos. And he's got photos of North Ryde and all this sort of shit. And I said, "Hey mate, your name rings a bell." And I looked on the sheet. I've still got the sheet, the running sheet of the first the Australian Open, the Omni Oz Classic. And there were 17 guys in it, 15 guys and 2 women. And he was one of them. He came in the comp and raced on a snowboard in the comp. So I rang him up not long ago and had a big talk to him. And he did talk to me at the comp as well. And he remembered. He goes, "Oh, yeah, we lived next door to you back in Normanhurst." And I was 2 then. So I was neighbours with him then. And then I started talking about snowboarding. I seen that. I saw this yellow winter stick in the Hornsby shop. And he goes, "Yeah, I bought that."
What?
So, I saved up for it and I put on lay-by and I bought that. So that board that I was frothing over in the window, he bought it. He ended up selling it to a mate of mine that lived just down the road for $5,000 to Mick Mackey. He's a surfer.
Wow.
Campbell Drummond, yeah. He's on the Australian Skate Archive pages. Yeah. I see his photos lately. They've been brilliant.
So we talked for like 3 hours on the phone, and he does video editing, and he's talking about, putting all this stuff together. So, there might be something I haven't heard back from him yet. But, we just ranted and raved for hours about that.
Wow.
So that was the first time I saw, like, real skateboarding. So I didn't feel like I was part of that either. I wasn't a skater. I couldn't do that shit. And I'd had a back injury by then. My shoulder dislocated all the time. And
so interesting.
And I was like 24, 25. I said, I'm too old to learn this shit. So I just went, no, I can't ride bowls and shit. So
it's just interesting because you're so significant to the, as well. You're so significant to the culture. And
but I don't feel like I'm, not being a skater that can do all that stuff. And, I was there, but I was probably a bystander.
Has that been hard in developing your shapes, your boards, and understanding concaves and stuff? Because
I know, I can ride a board.
I know, but
like in the early 90s, I've had a couple of mini ramps in my backyard.
But I mean, if team riders giving you feedback like, hey,
that was important.
Can you make one with less concave or, make the wheelbase wire longer or what shit like that? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that was integral to designing things, is having team riders, and they were test riders. They were testing stuff out and seeing what you did, and they'd always have an idea of a shape or whatever. So that was always part of it, of having team riders, is making sure that you're not going off in your own little world thinking, oh, everyone's going to ride this super duper thing I've just made. But I could skate. I could stand on a board, and I could ride a little mini ramp. I could do kick turns. I could do rock to fakies, and like all that sort of stuff. The basic stuff on a mini ramp. But
you weren't going to street league or anything.
No. Okay. And I think I learned to ollie when about, when was that? Early 90s too. I think I remember in the house. So that was a long time afterwards. Yeah, just practicing sort of ollies on the carpet. I remember the next door neighbour, it was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I'd been doing it for like 3 hours. And he yells out from the next door, "Shut up!"
Classic, man.
But anyway, I feel like a bit of an outsider there. Yeah. Maybe snowboarding again, but I'd never really felt like I was in the scene down there. That was always a bit of a rich man sport, And
it is.
I like it too, and then now getting on to the new product I'm doing with the snow skates, is that's another thing altogether. So we're actually doing what we did in the 80s with the snowboards, trying to get it approved and getting allowed on the resorts. That's what we've been going through in the last 3 years now to get the snow skates going and designing all that.
Interesting.
With Dave Kelly and Tim Vlandis, he's down there at the moment.
Tim Vlandis, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, well, Tim's living with Dave at the moment, so they've been helping out and going to see the resorts and talking to them about getting them approved. And and all that. So
cool.
yeah, so that's another whole new project again. That's something to, designing and getting my teeth around.
No bindings on those bad boys, eh?
No, it's just a skateboard deck with a metal bracket and a little ski, like a special built sort of width ski.
Have you seen the ones that they, like the actual snow skates with, they just slide directly on the...
Just the flat decks, yeah. We're trying to
made
really
from a laminate or something.
Yeah, they're mostly out of plastic. I mean, those things have been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean,
Didn't really
I made
take
some
off?
snow skates in the late 90s. That's when I started doing some snow skates.
Yeah, right.
But no, we really don't want anything to do with those here because they're not directional, and that's what the resorts will not let you ride those things there. And that's the thing when we talk to resorts about snow skates, that's probably one of the first things they see or think about it as those things. It's like, no, these you can turn and stop and they're directional.
And so that means they're more predictable and they can carve lines.
Yeah.
So then they're actually safer. They're more, other riders can predict where they're going on a busy ski hill. Is that right? Is that their mentality?
It's not so much the other right. It's just being able to be in control of what you're doing. That
looks hard to control.
No, they're intuitively like you stand on them and they turn and work under you like you wouldn't believe.
Okay.
But
they're still not a snow. They're not like, it's not like snowboarding. Like, you're still cutting an edge, like a heel and a toe edge, right?
Yep.
But you're not strapped in.
No,
so
that's the big difference. It's just a skateboard deck, a wide skateboard deck with soft boots.
I wonder how you'd navigate chairlifts with them.
Oh, you just pick them up. That's some of the issues that we're working through with them at the moment. Sometimes they're talking about putting a big rubber band on the nose, that you just front foot sort of hooks into. Yeah. But most of the time they just pick them up, and then when you go, you just put it down and stand on and roll off. It's all quite easy. So, there's different lengths boards. I sent a big long one over to a guy in Colorado. He does all that downhill skateboarding, downhill stuff with the sliding and all that sort of stuff. He does that in Colorado in summertime, and wintertime he does the same thing on these snow skates. He's hitting 80 k's an hour, 80 miles an hour.
Have you seen that stuff, man?
Yeah, it's really impressive.
It's like I get sweaty palms watching it. I get so nervous.
Yeah, so this guy does that on snow skates. And
yeah, right.
Yeah, so and then you go all the way down to a short snow skate that like a double ender thing that you can kick flip and
those guys are insane.
Do board slides and things like that on, and then everything in between. A few different models there where they're just really cruiser, sort of just all mountain cruising. You just go down the groomers and what have you. So
crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, that's again Omni Boards. It's part of the snowboard sort of thing.
Omni.
So anyway, we'll see where that sport goes, but I think it's looking good now. It's been coming and going for the last few years. I made a bi-deck snow skate back in 2000. Yeah. And so it's been that long since. Yeah, I think they've finally been refined to that point now where they're ready to go.
Have you ever been described as the Paul Schmidt of Australian skateboarding?
I don't know.
Schmidt sticks. Because that's what Jim called you in the car.
No, I think it was Steve when we had him on the phone.
Oh, Steve Tierney did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Professor Schmidt.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It seems like you're very driven by progression, and I don't know. That's what it seems.
Well, that's why I like to be able to spearhead that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I mean, it's pretty hard to progress now. Like, I don't know where skateboarding's going to go as far as designs. I think they're pretty cool. I mean, you got that stuff like
the egg stuff now.
Well, they're still a shape.
Trendy.
They're still coming back. I mean, you got the flight decks, I think, as far as construction, that sort of stuff. I don't know how much, that's just very expensive. A lot of people say, obviously, they're great, but, they cost a fortune. So I don't really know what further point to go with that sort of stuff. 7 plies of rock maple.
Yeah.
Stood the test of time.
Yeah. But in terms of shape, I mean, at the moment, the egg-shaped boards have become super. That's really popular right now. It's like trending almost.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's what I did only 2-3 days ago. I made a new egg shape.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah. And there's one particular brand who's
those guys,
who's really pushing them, and everyone's riding those ones.
Yep.
How do you feel about that? They're like,
Oh, it's
cool?
fine.
You think it's cool?
Whatever. Yeah.
I like it. I like the progression there.
Yeah.
I mean, is it trending? Will it stay? I don't know. It'd be interesting to watch that.
I'll see how it goes. I think people, they get used to sort of stuff sometimes and they're just happy on a double kick or, you know, people, there was a lot of that shape sort of stuff going on where people are wanting the sort of the 80s look, but with the double kick sort of new feel concave to it. You know, that's sort of big, but there's still, mate, most of the board, 90% of the boards that go out are just round tail.
775s. Yeah.
Oh, no,
you must sell more of them than any other board, right?
There's 8.5s, 8.6s, 8.7s up there, and I'll never sell. Yeah.
The 8.5s? Oh, right.
Oh, 7.
Sorry, 7.5s.
I was going to say
7.5, 7.6s.
You got some 7.5s here.
Yeah. I've even got some 7.4s, but yeah.
I see.
No,
I can see. Look, bent to 7.75. Was that 7.625?
Yeah.
Bent.
Yeah.
That was your brand too, wasn't it? Man?
Yeah.
No way.
You still make bent stuff?
Oh, well, I've got all new graphics and everything's in the works there, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'd like to just get Omni going first, but yeah. I mean, you know, that went really well.
Yep.
You know, we had Corbin Harris and
No way. See, this is what I mean, Mike. The who's who. Who else?
Jake Duncombe.
That's right,
Brad Smith, Nathan Fraser. They're all on bent. Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah, Nathan Fraser had a pro graphic as well as Brad Smith. You know, he had a good graphic.
It's a really good team, yeah.
Man, Nathan Fraser, man, that guy was he was known to be really good, but I think he was underrated as well.
Yeah,
so good.
Yep.
Get out.
Yeah, and we had a few girls. You know.
Yeah. Like Virginia Maddock, do you remember?
No.
Sally Affleck ever ride for you?
No. Oh, just, man, I need a list in front of me. I'm forgetting all these people. I'm really sorry. Yeah, because we had a bit of a girl brand out there for a while. Venus, we were doing stuff, so we had two girls on the team.
We'll look it up.
Tip of my tongue. It's on the website, omniskate.com.au. Go there, look out the team riders. They're there.
Nice.
They're all on there. Yeah, so many people, 64, 65, something like that. So I'm up about 70 now. So
amazing, Cary.
Anyway,
amazing.
Man, I don't know what else to.
Well, listen, man, it's been epic, and thank you for your time and energy.
Not a problem.
And is there anything you want to end on? We're good. Any messages you want to send out there?
No, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I'll jump in and say, listen, support local. And get onto the Omni website, check out their range. And, if you see Cary, maybe have a chat with him because he's got a lot of history in that head of his. He just can't remember it all.
And thank him,
it's hard to be put on the point, on spot.
No, but thank him if you see him, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, you know, like I said before, in that kind of, there's a real kind of bit of a backbone there for our culture. And, we all really appreciate it. So cheers.
Much appreciated. I'm trying to do what I can.
It's the Cary Pogson, everyone. Ew.